Hey everyone, today we're talking about becoming a bridge, school and education planning. My name is Isaiah Goodman, the Chief Financial Advocate at Becoming Financial. It really made me think, we saw back in March 2019 all of the scandals about the celebrity parents basically just getting their kids into college. I think one of the things that I thought about was how can we be a bridge? How can we assist but not necessarily do things for our kids? When you think about a bridge, what a bridge does is it allows you to get to the other side, but you still have to do the work, right? So today we're going to talk about how can you save, how can you assist your child, how can you be a bridge for them when it comes to education planning. So the first thing we're going to do with all of these different types of accounts is a little bit of a true and false to see where you're at with this knowledge if you know anything about what these types of accounts are. The first account we're going to talk about is a 529. So true or false, every state has a 529 plan. That's true. So believe it or not, every state in the US has a 529 plan, and you can actually invest or use any account from any state. There are some small, slight benefits if you use the in-state plan and go to a school in-state. You'll have to check on that, but for the most part, there's no tax benefits or anything different about that. True or false, anyone can open a 529. That is true. Anybody can open it for anybody. True or false, only parents can invest in a 529. That's false. Anybody can. Friends, family. Typically what you see is sometimes a birthday gift can go into a 529 to be invested. Only $250,000 or less can invest or start a 529. If you make $250,000 or less, you can start a 529. That is false. There's no income limit. So depending on what amount you make or your household takes home, you can start a 529 for your children. True or false, withdrawals from a 529 can pay for education at any U.S. Higher institution for education. That's true. So any school you go to in the U.S., you can withdraw tax-free from a 529 to pay for your education. True or false, 529s can pay for K through 12 expenses. That's true. So just started in 2018, you can actually save and invest in a 529 and use that to pay for things like private high school. I think that's a really neat addition to the tax code. True or false, lifetime contributions can be no more than $300,000. That's true. So the key word here is total contributions. A family can't contribute more than $300,000. Now, of course, if you save and invest, that could grow to millions if the market did well enough, but contributions can't go more than $300,000. A unique thing about a 529, you can sort of jumpstart or front load some of the investments. You can do up to $75,000 in a single year. A married couple can do up to $150,000 in 1 year. And there's no gift tax or anything, again, as long as it's used specifically for education. And this is per child. So high net worth family could have multiple children, invest $150,000 per child per year. There is some timelines. Basically, they look at the next 7 years to see how soon you would have made other investments. But it is a way to kind of jumpstart your 529. Now we'll talk about a ESA, an education savings account, or a Coverdell. True or false, only couples with income of $220,000 or less can open a Coverdell. That's true. So there is an income limit on an ESA or a Coverdell. Traditionally, these have been used for those K through 12 expenses. So something to check out. If you make more than $220,000, take a look at that 529 plan. True or false, contributions are limited to a maximum of $1,000 per year. That's false. It's $2,000 per year until the beneficiary's 18th birthday. True or false, the account must be liquidated at age 30. That is true, kind of. So if the account isn't used by age 30 for some sort of educational expense, it must be liquidated, thus incurring tax penalties. But a part two to that is true or false, you can't roll over the full balance to a different ESA. That's false, you can. So something that a lot of people do, if the beneficiary gets to the age of 30 and they haven't used all or some of the funds, you can then roll that over to another ESA or Coverdell for the next child, or even a different family member or loved one. So there's some true and false. about 529s and Coverdales. Two other accounts I wanted you guys to consider, just to think about for educational expenses. Number one is actually whole or permanent life insurance. So true or false about this one, the accumulations can be withdrawn tax-free. That's true. So the cash value inside of a life insurance plan can be taken out tax-free to be used for anything, whether that's a car or education. True or false, all of the cash value once you withdraw it is tax-free forever. That's false. It's actually a loan against the cash value. So anything that you've put into it can be tax-free, basically what you've put into the plan. But anything above and beyond that, if you take out that cash value, that's going to be a loan, or if you just take it as a straight distribution, it becomes taxable. True or false, it'll have greater returns than a 529 plan. That's probably false. Almost all life insurance companies are going to have pretty modest returns on their whole life insurance over time. The key there is just to start as soon as possible. If you have young children, they're just born, a couple years old, you can start a whole life insurance plan, and maybe 20 years from now, there'll be some decent value in there. If you've got an 18-year-old and you're thinking that you're going to work some magic and pay for their next 4 years of college using life insurance, it's not going to work. Last thing, property ownership. So true or false there, you can use the income to pay for education. That's true. So if you rent a property anywhere, or you own the property and rent it out, like an Airbnb, etc., you can use that income to pay for education expenses. It is taxable, right? Just like income. So there's no magic there. It's just something that I've heard people ask. And then true or false, you can actually get a property on a campus and use that. True, same thing. Whether if your child is going to go to a specific college or not, you could rent that property out, have some income, save it or invest it, and then if and when your child or children go to that institution, they could obviously live there, and then once they leave, then you can keep renting it out. So it is something I've heard people use. It's just like having any other business, though. That income is going to be taxable. So even if you work a regular 9-to-5 and you start another business and you get income from that to pay for education, same as if you own a property. I think it just gets kind of unique if you own a property on a campus that your child will go to. So there's 4 ways to think about education planning: 529, an ESA/Coverdale, whole life insurance, or property ownership. Hopefully you can be a bridge for your kids someday.